So good morning, everyone. There's another important aspect of the Parsha of the week which I want to investigate together with you. Maybe I'm biased, because I happen to be one of the Bnei Korach. And as Rashi says at the beginning, that this Parsha Yafeh Nidreshet, it's explained well. So maybe one of the points which is very specific about this Parsha is as follows. I'm going to introduce it with, I would say, really the major principle of faith, according to the description of the Rambam, which is Torah min hashamayim. And I paraphrase for you what the Rambam says, Hilchot Yesodei HaTorah, which refer to the fundamental principles of the Torah concerning the basis of our belief. I want to say this principle is developed beautifully in the introduction of the Sefer HaChinuch, Levi. But I'll bring you more or less literal translation of what the Rambam says in the 8th chapter of Hilchot Yesodei HaTorah. It says, Moshe Rabbeinu, the people of Israel did not believe in him on account of the miracles that he performed, because he who believes on the basis of miracles, he has a certain yesh belibo dafi, a certain question and doubt in his mind, because it's possible this miracle was produced belot of a kishuf. Now belot is a reference to I think the two phrases of the Rambam is very particular in all his words. Belot for kishuf. Belot is what magicians do today. They're very skilled in giving the appearance of taking a rabbit out from their sleeve or whatever, or cutting a person in half and he still remains whole. It's all really tricks. They're very swift in their movements, or when they swallow fire, things like that. Magicians today, everyone knows it's a show. People are very skilled in taking fire from their mouth, for example. Or kishuf means, there's some who have like magical psychic powers. But all the miracles that Moshe performed, they were all produced for a specific purpose, not really to bring a proof for the prophecy. When it was necessary to sink the Egyptians in the sea, so through his signs the sea was split and the Egyptian army, what was left of it, they were drowned. When we required, when the people of Israel required food in the desert, he brought down the mud. When they were thirsty, so he split the rock and waters came out. When the community of Korach, they denied his prophecy, the earth swallowed them up. And the same applies to all the other miracles. So on what basis did the people of Israel, all of them, believe in him without any doubt? But in a very clear fashion, this was the enormous event which took place on the mountain of Sinai. Here the Rambam uses unusual words. Our eyes saw it, not a stranger. Our ears heard it, not someone else. The fire, the thunder, and the torches that we dimmed, and Moshe went into the mist, into the cloud, and the voice spoke to him from Hashem, and we heard it. We heard the voice saying, Moshe, Moshe, go and say to them these 10 declarations. And that's why it says also in the Chumash, you should never forget that day, because face to face Hashem spoke with you. And it says furthermore, the covenant which was made was not made with our forefathers, that was made with all of us. In other words, this is a unique event on the highest level beyond time, you might say, which extends to all generations. Face to face Hashem spoke with us. That's what it says. And it says, and how do we know that Ma'amad Har Sinai, that alone is the major proof, is prophecy, that this is truth without any doubt attached? Because it says, as an introduction, behold, I'm coming to you, God says to Moshe, in a thick cloud, so that the people will hear when I speak with you, and they believe in you forever. Which implies, beforehand, they also believed in him. But it's not a firm belief for all generations. It is a type of belief where you can still think, well, maybe it's kishuf, maybe it's a slate of hand, as it were. But who says that it's definitely true? So the Rambam, it brings here this basic situation that Torah from heaven is the basis of the faith of the people, without doubt. And that's why it says in the Dvarim that the generation, some of them, who were about to enter the land, had not witnessed Ma'amad Har Sinai, but he said to them, you have to remember that event. Your whole physical existence as a nation depends upon you preserving the faith in the divinity of the Decalogue. That's why it's put in stone, and this is a duty you have to fulfill for all generations. Don't forget it. And it says there, you should know that the time will come where the nations of the world will all recognize through the Decalogue and by that which accompanied it, that God exists in history. And He has made the people of Israel the vehicle to carry the message of the Decalogue to all the nations of the world. And we're not at the time of prophecy anymore, nor of divine, consciously, we don't have divine revelation. But when we see it fulfilled literally, that the real moral power that exists in the world, that still remains, is the Decalogue, without a doubt. And this is something which is accepted, fortunately not with the full Torah Sheba'al Peh which we possess, but accepted by we'll call them those who preserve some form of monotheism, with its corollary of the Decalogue. And there's been no time where there's so many books written about it, and nearly everyone knows about it. And this is our duty to teach it. I'll just bring us to you an episode that happened to me. I was with a group of rabbis, and we had a weekend conference of Rabbonim of Israel, and they asked me to speak as well. And on the Shabbat, we went to different synagogues. It was in Eilat. There's different synagogues in Eilat. Very interesting things happened. But also, on one of the weekdays, we were given the allocation to speak in the general schools. So it was before Shavuot, and I spoke in one of the schools for children of Bar Mitzvah age, and I asked them, do they know the Ten Commandments? And very interesting, there was nobody present who knew what they all were. The teacher, I did everything was question answer. I kept on asking the children questions. Can anybody guess what it is? Did someone say, love your fellow man like yourself? So I said, no, that's not written in the Ten Commandments. Tell me what's written. No, one of them. So gradually I got all the class to go and understand each one of the Ten Commandments, question and answer session. The teacher thanked me very much. But I came to that class at the beginning, Bar Mitzvah age, they don't know the Ten Commandments. And you ask the average non-Jew, raised in a Christian or even in a Muslim society, and they'll tell you what they were. So it shows how important it is for us in our generation to emphasize this. In any case, I'll tell you there's a contradiction in the words of the Rambam. Because the Rambam wrote a very important letter called Igeret Teiman. Even today there's a remnant of the Yemenite Jewish community in Teiman. In the time of the Rambam it was a very large Jewish community. And they were under a lot of persecution from wild Muslims and others, and also from false messiahs that came to them. And they were in a very persecuted and difficult situation, and many of them went after false messiahs. So the Rambam wrote a letter, Igeret Teiman. And in that letter, I'll read a section to you that is very significant. He says, the Creator had already promised us, and we can rely upon His guarantee. And He has told us, everyone who stood near Har Sinai, they all believe in the prophecy of Moshe Rabbeinu and everything that happened through him. They, their children and their grandchildren forever. Because HaKadosh Boruch Hu said, behold, I'm coming to you in the thickness of the cloud, so that people hear when I speak with you, and they believe in you forever. Therefore, we should know, if there's anyone who goes away from the path of the religion which was given to us on the mountain of Sinai, he is not from the seed of those people who heard the voice of God speaking. And that's what the sages said about anyone who doubts the prophecy of Moshe. Lo amdu avotav al Har Sinai. His forefathers did not stand at Har Sinai. May Hashem save us and save you from these doubts, and keep these away from you, which easily brings people to have doubts in the faith in Moshe Rabbeinu and the Torah, and brings them also to the stumbling block of going away from the Torah. Well, first I want to add something to this. We should know that any Ger Tzedek, we say it's katan shenolad adam. It's like a reborn katan, and also he says, God and my forefathers, the Rambam deals with this and others also. And there's a famous case of Rav Potoki, who was on the hierarchy of the Russian Orthodox Church, from a family who were constantly the main bishops of that church. And he studied the Torah thoroughly and came to the conviction he must find out about Judaism. He had to do it in secret, and in secret he became a Ger Tzedek. He became a disciple of the Gaon of Vilna. So what happened to him? That he had to hide himself from the police of the Russian Orthodox Church, because they were after him, what happened to him. And he went with a hidden identity. But was once in one of the Bati Midrash, and people in the middle of tefillah or some were talking, so he felt he had to tell them to stop talking. And so one of the people there didn't like it, and he knew that he was a proselyte in the church, so he went and informed the secret police, and they got hold of him. And then they tried to persuade him to go back to his origins. But many different people working on him, after you come from this noble family of the Russian Orthodox Church, and how can you be a traitor? And they said to you, you've got to go to your roots. In fact, one of the people who tried to persuade him was a Jewish missionary, you know, gone over to the church. So the story goes, in any case, that one part of the story is confirmed, the other part I'm not sure. One part is confirmed, he said, I am going back to my roots, because when it says that the Torah was offered to Esav, Esav represents also Christianity, then really the Torah was rejected by Esav. But Esav didn't like it. It says Lo Tirtzach, because there's a murderous power in Esav. So he said, you should know that when it says in the Chumash they reject, it means most of them. But there were some souls, because that event was an event above time, there were some souls amongst the nations of the world who did want to come back. And they did join in receiving the Torah. These are the Gelet Seder, the true Gelet Seder. And the other part of the story is one of the missionaries who work on him. So he said to him something else. He said to him, when it says, all the people of Israel answered Kol Echad with one voice, Naaseh v'Nishma. There were some, the Erev Rav, mixed multitude, who also said it, but there was only lip service. They didn't really believe it. As we know, some of the Erev Rav, they said, they joined in, and when it says, Yachtov Kulam, we have a principle in the Torah, Rubik Kulam. The vast majority is considered like all. So therefore, they joined in externally. But we know even one of them, Pesach Michal, we know one of them brought an idol through the sea with him from Egypt. So therefore, the people who become apostates to Judaism and become Christians, especially Christian missionaries, they belong to the Erev Rav. And they did not really receive the Torah in their heart. They only said so. And the Torah is called majority, just like we say even the redemption will come when the majority of Jews again receive the Torah with a full heart. So this is as an aside. But there's a contradiction between what the Rambam says here in his letter to Teiman and what he says as fundamental of faith. Because fundamental of faith, he even mentions the situation of Korach, that Korach definitely heard the voice of Hashem. He brings a proof in Hilchos Sodei Torah that the signs of Korach being swallowed up of the earth, that's not the basis of faith. But if he says he's bringing proof from Adat Korach, so Adat Korach themselves, he says, disproves what he says in the Keret Teiman. How can you say that he did not hear? Of course he was surely present when the Torah was given. So that remains a question. So I'm going to give you now the answer to this. Or can you answer it? Can you answer this question? How can the Rambam, how can you say in the Geret Teman. You might say Geret Teman was more is not to be taken as actual halacha, but still, to go and mention in the Mishnah Torah, I think the Geret Teman was written afterwards, to mention in Mishnah Torah, a basic principle of faith, that the people who stood Mount of Sinai, they and their descendants, all of them, they believed in Moshe Rabbeinu, the Torah, forever. And here we find, and he mentions Korach, one of the examples, and Korach was there. It's true that some of his descendants, when they decided they're going to say Moshe Emet for Torato Emet, before they went right down in the earthquake. And therefore the Bnei Korach were saved. But the Bnei Korach, many of them, they did not witness directly the Mamad Har-Sinai, but Korach himself did. And how can someone who stood foot in the Sinai be in a situation, the Rambam says, that all his seed will never deny the Torah? How would you answer this question? Any answer?
That some of the
have a go at it. Give them yes.
Some of the mixed people that were just saying lip service were already intertwined with the Bnei Korach. That maybe they married some of these as they were in the Midbar.
Yeah, so you're saying really Korach was like one of the Erev Rav, called the explanation word he gave. That could be possible. In other words, some people confirmed it and said surely it's correct, but if they were, it did not only depend on them being mixed multitude who brought an idol from Egypt, something of that nature, but there were some there that how we described Korach already as looking at life from a self-centered point of view. He was only interested really ultimately in himself. As Chazal says, if a person is so filled with his self-centered ego, it's an ego trip, then whatever he experiences, but it's not with his heart. His heart is only connected with his own self-image of myself. So he learns a lot, he knows a lot, but he is a boastful, self-centered person. As we described the question of the Talit Shekulot Chelet. Now there's only out for kavod and kina. You can see all his words, his criticism of others, described his enormous blemish. And even the people who joined him, and he was part of this demagogue expression, they even twisted facts. They said, Egypt was a land flowing with milk and honey, and let's go back to Egypt. What do you want the desert? So and his challenge against Moshe and Aaron was a complete twist. He says, why do you raise yourself up above the people? Well, that's exactly what he wanted. He wanted to be the Kohen Gadol. He wanted even to be greater than Moshe Rabbeinu. And even said, Moshe is not telling the truth. So in other words, he heard, yes, but it did not get through to his soul. Because his soul, his true soul, was suppressed through his self-centeredness. And the Korah comes to teach us this principle. A person entirely involved constantly, it brings up, even if he knows a lot, and he's clever, he's pekeach, but he doesn't use the left eye, as we described, to have any form of self-criticism, only criticism of others. It shows. Unfortunately, kavod has taken hold of him. As it says, it takes the person away from the spiritual world entirely. And I tell you, a few students I've discussed with them how did you come to Torah and so on. They said, well, did you know any rabbis? Yes, I knew rabbis, but these rabbis were all on an ego trip. The rabbis that I met, they're only interested in self-glorification. That was his impression. So therefore it didn't impress him, because he never was confronted with people who tried to follow the way of the Torah. The more you know, and the more influence you have, the more you've got to have self-criticism. And I'll quote what's this. Rav Steinemann is a person of enormous humility. I know he this week is very worried. What's he worried about? Well, he says, well, it was in this week, Parshat Korach, that he once didn't show full respect to the Bris Gadol years ago, and it worries him until today. Because he makes a kotzah cheshbon hanefesh. As in, also, you could, if you read the tzava'ah of Rav Shach, Lahavta ben Chaim L'Chaim, it's filled with self-criticism. Because they try to think, what does Hashem really think of me? No. I mean, because Hashem's given me so much, and I don't really show gratitude to them. But I think only of, I get upset, maybe some people criticize me. Well, that shows I'm on a very low level. Cool. So that's it. For example, these people, the Steinman doesn't bother when people criticize him. I think probably even likes it, because people criticize him, and they would say that there are different opinions and so on. He's quite happy about it, because the way people show him honor all the time, it has an impact, if not consciously, subconsciously. So that's one answer that's given. Even a Korach, who was a big pikeach, and with Mitoan, as Moshe Rabbeinu said to him, you've got the zchut to carry the Holy Ark, which others didn't have. Many Levites didn't have that task. The Kohanim didn't have that task. It was the task of Korach and his family. So that you should be happy with that. So that's one answer. But now I want to give you another answer, because in that you have to look in the Chumash at chapter 16, verse 28. 16 verse 28. Moshe said, because Korah said Hashem didn't really send you and you're making up things yourself, when you go and appoint Aaron as the high priest, and when you go and give the head prince of the tribe of Levi to my nephew, why did you give it to me, or give it, And of course included in this also, they joined in the rebellion is all the firstborn, who said, who gave you the right to take away the privilege of all the Bechurim and give it to the tribe of Levi in their place? And Reuven, or the tribe of Reuven, said, what do you mean Reuven was the Bechor? So, we're making things up yourself. So Moshe said, through this you will know that Hashem has sent me to perform all these deeds, all things we were criticizing me for. Ki lo milibi, it has not come from me. And once, in the modern interpretation of the Chumash, both by non-Jews and also by some Jews, many of them say we can prove that the Chumash has Mosaic authorship. It was authored by Moshe Rabbeinu. Yeah. Many of them, that's how they write. And I even tell you an episode that happened with me, that there's an article in the Israeli Journal of Botany by one of the biggest professors of ecology, called Huterman. He's based, I think, Berlin University. And he wrote an article and said that Moses, he he preceded the science of ecology. Moses knew so many things. He knew all the species of birds and animals. He knew their qualities. He proved it from the Chumash. And he knew ecology of the earth, how you've got to let fields lie fallow. He said, it is fantastic what Moses knew about the animal world, about the vegetable world, about the structure of the earth, the ground. So they were extremely wise, and describes there how many aspects of ecological research in recent times were already known to Moses. So he came into Israel for an international conference. So I went to see him, and then he came with him to the yeshiva, and I asked him, tell me, Moses knew all these things, which you only discovered recently, the science of ecology? Do you really believe that? So he says, no, it's the word of God given to Moses. But if I write that in an article, or if I say it in my lectures, they'll dismiss me from my position. I still remember when I was a youngster, I also wrote once, in my days, the dogma of science was evolution. So I wrote an article against evolution. And the lecturers, they said, oh, you can't do that. That's not scientific. It's a scientific dogma. So anyway, he meanwhile, I had a lot of correspondence with him. And in fact, I published some of his ideas. And also, but it's clear it's from the Word of God. That's what he said. But in the academic world, if you do that, you're going against what's called the standards of academic levels. That is, you see this happening all the time. So, but Moshe says explicitly, Lo melibi, it's not from my mind. So therefore, if this group here that's here now, if they die like other people die, Lo Hashem shlachani, then Hashem didn't send me. In Beria Yivra Hashem, but if Hashem will make a new creation, and the earth will open its mouth and swallow them up, then you should know Kini Atsu, that these people, they have despised God. And then it happened that there was an earthquake, but not like usual. With the earthquake, then it remains split and open. In this instance, the earthquake, they fell in, and then it closed up. And only some of the sons of Korach, when they were on a certain ledge, they managed to jump out before it closed. Because it says, the earth covered them over, and they disappeared from the whole community. So then the rest of the people, they fled away and so on. So I'll paraphrase for you now here. This gives the answer of the Malbim, who is probably the greatest recent Torah commentator on the Tanakh. So he says, we can ask two questions on this whole episode. What happened here? If we look through the Chumash, there were so many instances of rebellions against Moshe, against Hashem. The 10 major rebellion. Moshe, in each instance, he was a Melitz Yosha. He always defended the people of Israel, even when they had such great sins, worshipping the golden calf, or even the spies. He always stood in the breach to take away divine anger, not to destroy the people. How is it now, when again they sinned against his honor and the honor of his brother? What? He made such a decree they would die. Why didn't he ask that Hashem should be more compassionate and let them do teshuvah? It would even appear on the outside that his honor, the honor of the priesthood, what's greater in his eyes than the honor of Hashem and than love of the people? That's one question. The second one, even if it was fitting they should be punished straight away, why do you want a new creation? It's not mentioned by anywhere else. It's a new Bria, new creation. Bria always means, in the first chapter of the Chumash also, the concept Yesh Ma'ayin, ex nihilo, is Bria. Why did he want the earth to open its mouth? And this was, because this was similar to Bria Yesh Ma'ayin, it's creating something new. Why didn't he say, okay, let them die with a plague, like the spies died with a plague? Why should he have to make such a great miracle, which is not really necessary? Just to say they should be killed. Why Bria, Yivra Hashem? So therefore, the explanation, Moshe explained to them, the reason why I need this is because it's not because of my honor of my brother. We're nothing. We're just kilomilibi. None of this has to do with us as persons. We're not interested in our ego at all in the positions. Even the appointment of leadership, we didn't want it. Or even from the beginning didn't want it, but Hashem said, you must follow me. I say this is the only way in which the people can grow to become the people of Hashem. So this was a great need to establish the basis of faith that the whole Torah is eternal and applies to this and all future generations. This is the major principle on which the unity and the truth of Torah depends, generation after generation. That Hashem came to the eyes of all Israel on the mountain of Sinai with signs and wonders, and all of them from the mouth of Hashem face to face. He was the one who appointed me, and I could not refuse it, to become his messenger of the Torah, and his mitzvahs apply forever. So it all comes mipi Hashem. They are all the mitzvot of the living God and not based upon human beings at all. And that was all done in front of 600,000, in fact coming to 3 million, 600,000 were, excluding the women and those under 20, the 600,000 who saw it with their own eyes and heard with their ears, and nobody could deny it. And from them came the true tradition to their children after them for every generation on this Ma'amad Hanivcha. And they heard it with their ears and saw it with their eyes. But since this evil group have arisen, and they themselves, generally speaking, they said this when Moshe was still alive, to go and deny the mission that Hashem put upon me and my prophecy, and they deny therefore the truth of the Torah. Therefore the whole basis of the faith of the Torah, even in the generation of Moshe, is weakened. How much more so in future generations? Because they'll say Hashem never sent him, and therefore the truth of the tradition, which has to be fulfilled by all those who saw it. And therefore, we need a similar creative act, like the revolution, like the revelation at Sinai was also Yesh Me'ayin. It was an entirely new, high experience, to some extent beyond time, beyond all generations, because it's something that has impact for all generations and all places. So this Bezot Teit'un, through this you will know, be clarified, that whatever you're claiming is entirely false. So it's like a bri yesh me'ayin, ki Hashem shlachani. I need to make this miracle of yesh me'ayin, ki lo milibi, which will clarify that the whole Torah and the mitzvot and all the actions which I did, I was a shliach from Hashem. If there wouldn't be such a big miracle of you being swallowed up by the earth, and you die like other people with different types of, even a plague, it wouldn't have the same impact. So I think this is the deepest answer. So it's written in the Chumash. That's the word Beria is not used with regard to any other miracle. It's used in connection with the creation of man, creation of the world, and it's also clear as being the concept of revelation of the Torah, which is also direct from Hashem. So therefore here it had to be a miracle direct from Hashem. Now the reason why this is important for our day is because the word Korach, as already mentioned, the Midrash means a bald patch. He created a bald patch amongst Am Yisrael. It means to empty out the growth of Am Yisrael. That was his attempt, and that's why he had to, as it were, disappear. And the truth is that there have been many challenges in later generations as well, of different groups who, because they did not have enough, many of them, enough background of learning, that they also denied the truth of the Torah, which is a continuation of the aspect of Korach. But we can even explain this further. Ma'aseh avot siman lebanim. When the Rambam in the Ge'eret HaTeman, he mentions that the essence of the people of Israel always regarded Torah min hashamayim as the basis of our spiritual truth. This truth is above time and space. So, in fact, the Rambam made 13 principles of faith, but there are others who say the one principle of faith, which is the source of everything else, is to accept the Torah, Shebichtav v'Shebal Peh, as being the word of Hashem. And from that you can work out with 3 principles, and some say that is the principle, because that's what gives the basis for all the mitzvot. Can't say which is more important. The Rambam emphasized in his time 13 principles, but the central principle is this one, Torah Mishamayim. And those who deny it, they are thereby being false to the true faith of our nation. And what has happened, all these misinterpretations of the gift of the Torah, which are found in Islam, in Christianity, and also in the Tzedukim, Sadducees in ancient times, the Karaites, and our more recent times, the Reform of the Conservative. I mean, there are some conservatives who do accept Torah min hashamayim. Even sometimes you'll find people say we're Orthodox and we're rabbis, we won't accept Torah min hashamayim. But once they leave aside the print of Torah min hashamayim, then they become a kereach. It creates a bald patch in Jewish tradition. And only those who follow Moshe Emet for Torah to Emet, they are the Bnei Korach that survive, and the rest of Am Yisrael also who survive. As long as we keep this alive, the absolute truth for all times of the Torah, and all the mitzvot are hinted at, as we know, in the Aseret HaDibrot. Not for nothing, we have Sadia Gaon, who also had to fight in his time against those who denied Jewish tradition. So he counts all the mitzvot of the Torah under the headings of the Decalogue. So that, I think that answers also the apparent contradiction of the Rambam. To strengthen the faith, so he describes in Ge'eret Teman this important principle of Torah min hashamayim.